The Chief Justice of the Texas Supreme Court takes on the question of confidence in the courts.
We cannot respond to politics. We can't change our decisions. We can't rule one way or another way because somebody wants us to.
We go one-on-one with Nathan Hecht, his perspective on campaign contributions for judges and the high-profile abortion case before his court.
We need somebody who's going to be stand up and fighting for our community, and so we want to take our fight from the House to the Senate.
A big battle in Big D puts two Democrats in a primary election fight.
I think we can do a lot better than for one member to go after an effective member.
We look closer at a race that will push one liberal lawmaker out of the legislature.
Produced from the Capitol in Austin and airing statewide, this is the award-winning State of Texas.
Hello and thank you for joining us. I'm Ryan Chandler, in for Josh Hinkle. As Chief Justice of the Texas Supreme Court, Nathan Hecht has played a role in some of the biggest stories in Texas politics this year. He was on the stage on Inauguration Day, in the Senate chamber to begin Ken Paxton's historic impeachment trial, and on the bench for some of the most contentious cases in the country. So as he nears the end of his influential career, I had the opportunity to sit down with the Chief Justice to reflect on what his tenure has meant for Texas, but also to look forward to how we can improve justice for all and how politics influences that justice, including, of course, the crucial abortion case still pending before his court. Mr. Chief Justice, thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking me.
One of the issues that has politicized the court more than anything in recent memory is, of course, abortion. I covered the hearing led by 20 women in Texas. Many of them almost died from serious pregnancy complications because they argue Texas's abortion ban does not give doctors the ability to intervene, even when in their best medical judgment they believe it's necessary for the mother's life. I understand you may not be able to get into some of the specifics of these pending cases, but if you could share what you can, what was going through your mind when you're thinking about the challenge to Texas's abortion ban right now?
I can't say much about it because, as you say, the case is pending, and I wouldn't want anything I said to be taken as an indication of what I think about the case or what my colleagues think. But I can say very readily that one thing that's going through, I think, all of our minds, certainly through my mind, as I'm sitting here listening to the arguments and knowing the stories of the plaintiffs who have filed the suit, that not argued so much here, but in the district court, you're thinking to yourself, I want to do everything possible to make sure that you as a reporter, as the people that were sitting here in the room, the people who are watching on the webcast, come away thinking, well, that was fair. However it comes out, that was fair. And then when the decision does come out, I do hope there'll be some recollection of that and thinking they listened. It's not a political decision for them. It's a legal decision. And they have to decide cases all the time that are difficult. We just want it to be, we want to not ever do anything that makes it look like somebody didn't get a fair shake.
You alluded to the perception of fairness there.
Yeah.
That is also a challenge, it seems, the judicial branch nationwide is facing. The Texas Politics Project found last year that 26% of registered voters in Texas have a favorable view of the Texas court system. What do judges like you need to do in order to convince more Texans that the judicial branch is fair and reliable?
We need to make it work better. So here's what we can't do. We cannot respond to politics. We can't change our decisions. We can't rule one way or another way because somebody wants us to or somebody doesn't want us to. All of that is off limits. The independent judiciary has got to call it like it sees it. And that's where a lot of the criticism is coming from. What the media portrays, and what the people hear, is that, oh, well, there was this decision, and what do you think of that? Well, I think that's terrible. Oh, and then there was this decision. Well, that was terrible too. And so you come away with a kind of a negative feeling about the court system. Whereas when people know, for example, that courts in Texas are working very hard to make sure that people with mental health issues in a case are accommodated. So that's in the criminal system a lot. We have diversion programs to try to help treat people who are not acting out of criminal intent so much as medical issues, guardianships, family cases, children cases. When it, say, here's what the court system is doing. We've done surveys nationally, and people say, "Oh, well, you tell me that. I didn't know that. That's great."
I want to ask you one more thing about the optics of the court, especially in the U.S. Supreme Court. They have come under fire recently from critics questioning the ethics of some justices, Clarence Thomas in particular. Do you think the U.S. Supreme Court needs to get a better grasp on their optics and their ethics when they interact with these wealthy interests?
Well, I think I'm not going to tell them what to do, and certainly I'm not going to tell them what to do when I come from a state and my position is dependent upon not just contributions, but contributions to me as an office holder. And we're all the judges that have to campaign for office worry constantly that aspect of running for office, the contributions, just looks terrible. And we've done polls on this, and people think, oh yeah, that looks terrible, all right. And the judges themselves, when you ask them, they say it looks terrible. Now, again, as I just said, I hope we have the discipline to not let it matter to us. But we have to worry about the optics.
I'm glad you brought up how this works in Texas, because let's say a plaintiff puts a briefcase of cash in your office and says, "Thank you for ruling this way." That would be bribery. But
Right.
a lawyer could donate thousands to your campaign and then show up the next day and argue in front of you in this chamber.
Yep, absolutely. It's
Why?
horrible. I mean, I've said it's horrible for 50 years. And back in the early 90s, Tom Phillips and I pioneered in limits on campaign contributions. Well, the first time I ran back in 1988 for this court, there were no limits. A contributor the sky was the limit. It could give you as much as he wanted. We said, oh no, you can't give more than $5,000 per person, which seems like a lot. In a $2 million race, it's not really. Kept law firms. The legislature came in behind us and enacted all of those caps as law. And they've been the law ever since. And it helps a little bit because you can say, well, we do have limits on how much people can give. But it's just a very troublesome side effect of Texas' way of selecting judges.
Justice Hecht is the longest serving Supreme Court justice in Texas history, but state law requires him to leave office next year because of his age. Texas voters rejected a proposition that would have kept him in office a while longer. We'll hear his response to that vote and what comes next when State of Texas continues.